Welcome to the Retro Lemur channel. This video is part of a series of short video demos where we cover individual assembly language and related topics for the Commander X16 8-bit computer. Here we will show how to create, format, copy files into, and otherwise work with emulator SD card images on all three major operating system platforms. This tutorial presumes that you have watched the Episode 0 variant for your operating system, Windows, Linux, or Mac, and have followed along to set up the tooling for your specific operating system. The process is very similar across all three platforms. We're going to use the truncate command to create a new SD card image file. Then we're going to use mtools to format the image and to copy files into it. If this is your first watch through, I recommend watching the video all the way through rather than skipping directly to the section for your operating system. First, we will show how it works on Windows. Open the msys2 shell. We're going to assume that you do not yet have mtools installed. This is the command to search for what the mtools package name is. Under msys2, the package name is not simply mtools, but rather this longer name. This is the command to install the package. The package got installed successfully, but it didn't end up in the default path, so let's figure out where this package placed all of its files. It looks like it used /mingw64 as its prefix, and that's not in our path, so let's add it. Our default shell in msys2 is bash, so we're going to append a line to the end of .bash_profile in our home directory, which adds the missing path entry for /mingw64/bin. Let's exit out and reopen the msys2 shell. And now mtools is in our path. For this demo, we're going to enter the Hello World folder we created during Episode 0 and create an empty SD card image. There are a number of ways to create an image file, but one of the simplest ways is to use the truncate command. The image needs to be a minimum of 32 megabytes. 100 megabytes is what I usually choose, and this is the command to create it. Our file name is sdcard.img. This next command, mpartition, creates an empty partition table on the SD card. This -i parameter includes the SD card image file name, and the partition equals 1 means that the image is one that has or will have partitions. The number 1 is not actually referring to any partition number, but rather a Boolean value. Putting the whole parameter inside of quotes is important so that the vertical bar or pipe character isn't interpreted by the shell. Don't worry about the warning here. We're going to use the mpartition command again, this time to create the single data partition, starting at sector 2048, which is 1 megabyte from the beginning of the disk, and partition type C, which indicates it'll be FAT32. The mformat command actually formats the partition. Now we can run the emulator with the -SD card option, pointing to our new SD card image, just to see what it looks like. It's empty as expected, but it looks like it's working. And we're going to use the mcopy command to copy the file in. Unlike the mpartition and mformat utilities, mcopy and many of the other mtools commands need to be told where the partition starts. Remember when we said the partition starts at sector 2048 or 1 megabyte? This is what the @1m means here. The -v means verbose, and the -m means to preserve file modify timestamps when copying. And let's run the emulator again, now that the hello world.prg file is on the SD card. We have successfully copied a file from Windows into the image, and the emulator can see it. Now for Linux. Go ahead and open a terminal. We will need the mtools package installed. On Ubuntu, we can install it like this. The rest of this exercise will look very similar to how it works on Windows. After entering the Hello World directory, we're going to create an empty file called sdcard.img of 100 megabytes using the truncate command. Then we're going to create an empty partition table inside that file using the mpartition command. Then we'll create the partition with the mpartition command, starting 2048 sectors from the beginning and with partition type C, which indicates FAT32. With the mformat command, we are formatting this partition as FAT32. Using the emulator, we can check to see that the SD card image is recognized. It's still empty though. Using the mcopy command, specifying the image file with an offset of 1 megabyte, we're copying helloworld.prg into the root of the image. And rerunning the emulator, we can successfully see, load, and run helloworld.prg. And finally, for macOS, open a terminal. To install mtools, use this command. And the rest of this demonstration will look very similar to how it works on Windows and Linux. After entering the Hello World directory, we create an empty file called sdcard.img of 100 megabytes using the truncate command. Then we're going to create an empty partition table inside that file using the mpartition command. Then we'll create the partition with the mpartition command, starting 2048 sectors from the beginning and with partition type C, which indicates FAT32. With the mformat command, we format the partition as FAT32. Using the emulator, we can check to see that the SD card image is recognized but empty. Using the mcopy command, specifying the image file with an offset of 1 megabyte, we're copying helloworld.prg into the root directory of the image. And rerunning the emulator, we can successfully see, load, and run helloworld.prg. With this knowledge, we can write a script to automate the creation of your SD card image. In my opinion, the best way to use mtools is as part of a script, so you don't need to type these long commands to update the SD card image. I have created a companion Git repo for my tutorial series here. You can either browse through it on the web or clone the repo to your own system so you can inspect and run the examples. For this episode, I have written a script under the Quick Topics directory. This is episode 002 in that series. Here's the script contents. We're running it under the bash interpreter. We're assigning the SD card image file name to a variable so that if we want to change it later, we only need to update it in one place. The first thing we're going to do is delete the image if it exists. We always recreate the file from scratch every time we run the script. Then we create the file, partition it, format it, then we copy the contents of the folder called root into the image. The asterisk is a wildcard match for all files that do not begin with a dot in that folder. Notice that we've added one additional switch to the mcopy command that we haven't talked about yet. The -s switch tells mcopy that it's allowed to copy subdirectories into the destination, somewhat like how the xcopy command in Windows and MS-DOS works. Inside the emulator, the SD card contains everything downstream of the folder called root. mtools has a bunch of commands that you can use to manipulate files inside of an SD card image. They're quite useful and versatile, but for this kind of workflow, we don't need to use any more than just the 3 commands we've already introduced. You can even copy and extend this script for your workflow, perhaps by adding a command to the end to start the emulator with your SD card image. This can be useful to save effort while you're developing a piece of software for the Commander X16. Links to resources, including the companion repo, are included in the description. Thanks for watching.